This is a Dude Studios production. And hey, I'm the dude. Mint Mobile has reimagined the wireless shopping experience and made it way easier. There's no stores, no salespeople, no nonsense. Just a huge savings on the nation's largest, most reliable 5G network. With plans as low as $15 a month, you have unlimited talk, unlimited text, and you can find the perfect data plan that suits you. You can even bring your old phone if you're still used to it. Or if you want to get rid of your old phone and upgrade, Mint Mobile has a large selection of phones for you to choose from. Just follow the link for Mint Mobile in the description of this podcast. Check out the plans and the opportunities for you to save some money with your new wireless service. Go to mintmobile.com today.
This is Roxanne, the bartender, and you're listening to Hey Bartender Podcast.
Hey bartender, pass me a drink. The reason that I'm here is I need time to think.
Hey, no problem. All of us have
Really got
schedules.
me down.
But this is just to put you at ease. This is just a casual conversation. You know, I tell everybody that this is like a conversation that you would have with your coworkers after work, at like Denny's or something like that, and just be as relaxed as you want to be. Swearing is graded; it's not discouraged. And
Okay, I was gonna try to be really careful not to because I'm so bad. It's a problem.
It's not a problem. They're just words, like George Carlin used to say. I have it set up so that it's, encouraged, at least on iTunes, that 18 and up can only listen to it. So I don't discourage swearing at all.
Okay.
But just relax, have fun with it, and
Well, I am wearing sweatpants, just saying, so I'm pretty real. I'm there. So.
like I said, this is just all audio, no video. But anyway, welcome to Hey Bartender Podcast, Roxanne. So just to get things started, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody on the that's listening to the podcast?
Okay, well, my name is Roxanne. I go by Roxanne the bartender, since like a little anonymity, but I bartend events all over the country, whether they be biker rallies, house music, country music festivals. It's just something I enjoy doing. So I guess I'm just a traveling bartender.
Now, that is some very, very high caliber party bartending. I mean, I've done like what do you call them? Banquets and stuff like that before. But when you're talking about doing biker rallies and country music festivals, that is on an insanely different level.
It can be. And the difference, though, is that when you're working certain festivals, for instance, like a country music festival, they're more interested in speed, right? Because the customer lines are going to get long and people are thirsty and they want them to be happy. And you're really just like getting the drinks out with the smile, of course. And, maybe a little conversation if it's not too busy. But biker rallies are a whole other level of bartending because you're actually performing, or at least if you're a good bartender,
Of course.
in my opinion,
Yeah.
you're performing because you're trying to not only, of course, make sales for the bar. I mean, they're not going to be open if you aren't selling liquor, but you're also trying to create memories for people. At least in my opinion, that's what I like to do, is perform and create memories.
Cool. Yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit. But first and foremost, like I told you before we started this podcast, I like to have a drink special at the beginning of my show. And since you are my guest, would you please tell us about a drink that you like to pour or something that you made up on your own?
Okay, well, so I did kind of make up a drink on my own, but it turns out it's kind of a drink. Where I work, they had like an excessive amount of blue curacao, and it was a Mexican restaurant. So I was like, why do you guys have this? Like, we serve Coronas and margaritas and like micheladas, right? Like, why do we have this drink? So I started looking at their inventory and I'm like, I'm going to make something up. This sounds like it's going to taste good, right? So I started putting Malibu rum, blue curacao, pineapple juice in a glass and selling it. And everybody loved it. And it turns out that is an Electric Smurf minus the lemon lime soda. So one of my favorite things to pour is actually the Electric Smurf.
Well, that sounds cool. I didn't know that drink existed, but of course I don't. No bartender knows every single drink in the book. That's impossible because drinks are being made every
Well,
day, or the same drink is
yeah,
named
not only that,
17
but
different things.
exactly. That's what I was going to say. Everybody from every region calls, like, it's the strangest thing. I don't know where they're from, but instead of getting like a Captain and Coke, which is what I think, non-sociopathic people call it, like, there are all these people who will order a Morgan and Coke. I'm like, what the fuck's a Morgan and Coke?
Uh-huh.
And they're like, Captain Morgan. I'm like, so you want a Captain and Coke? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, do you kick puppies? Like, just order a Captain and Coke. It's not a Morgan and Coke.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what region of the country has decided to call it a Morgan and Coke, but they need to stop.
The guy became a captain for a reason. Let's salute him.
Give him the respect he deserves.
Yeah, exactly. It's the only time that I can relate to that is somebody came up to my bar and asked me, they ordered a 14. And I looked at him and I said, what's a 14? And they said, 7 and 7. I'm like, can you just say 7 and 7?
It's just so stupid. I would, depending on where I was, if I was in like a high class establishment, of course I would have told that story behind the scenes to people. Mm. But if I was at a biker rally, I probably would have told them to fuck off. like, fuck off with that order. Stop it. Just call it a 7 and 7. So depending on where you are is how you can respond to people.
Exactly. So let's start out. We don't have to go all the way back to birth, but let's start out. When did you start out in the service industry? Did you always were you always a bartender or?
So that's kind of funny. I mean, we've all kind of bartended, right? Or like made our own drinks, and I bartended here and there throughout the years, just like parties or when I was younger. But I actually had become like a business professional and hadn't bartended in years. Mm. And during COVID, I had gotten laid off, and one of my girlfriends was like, she knew I could bartend, so she's like, "Hey, what you doing?" And I'm like, "A whole bunch of nothing. What you doing?" She's like, "Well, I'm heading to Sturgis. Like they need somebody last minute. Do you want to bartend?" And I knew what Sturgis was, but it just wasn't ringing a bell. I'm like, "What's Sturgis?" I had to Google that, and I was like, "Oh, am I young enough to do that?" like these girls aren't wearing much of anything. I mean, like, can I compete with that? She's like, "Shut up." So I had a few days notice. I bought a bunch of the tiniest outfits I could possibly find. Mm. And I threw all my stuff in a car and drove to South Dakota. So my first biker rally ever was Sturgis 2020.
Really?
And it just took off from there. Yeah.
See, to admit to you and to all my listeners, the reason why I came across your name is because I've known about Sturgis for years, and I've only been riding a Harley for the last 4, and but I've never gone to a biker rally. I don't know what they're about. I don't know what happens there, because people who have gone to Sturgis, South Dakota, when I ask them what happens, what do you do there, and either they don't remember or they just kind of laugh and say a lot happens there, but. So I never gotten really a straight answer, but I started looking around. I searched the hashtag Sturgis, and your profile came up, and that's what made me want to get you on the shows, because I wanted to get a little bit of intel, let everybody know pretty much, because Sturgis is it's a huge thing that happens in America all the time, or every year, and. Want to get a little bit of insight in what it's like to work or to be there, the experience, and also talk about your bartending, because I went through your Instagram, and the video you posted just yesterday, I think, or where you were spanking some guy up for whatever. Yeah. Anyway, we can get to that in a little bit, but
yeah. No, I oddly found from working at Sturgis that I absolutely love paddling people. No joke. Yes. I was like, why did I even get a degree in economics?
Yeah.
I just want to paddle people.
Right.
Like supply and demand, though. I mean, hey, I can apply economics to bartending all day.
Sure. Yeah. There's always a way. But
Yeah. But you know what? I will say, having not been at Sturgis for as long as some of the other bartenders, I think it gives me a unique insight because I'm not saying all bartenders are jaded. Please don't take it that way. But, you know, some have experienced it for so long that it's just kind of normal to them, right? The excitement's gone. It's just, you know, maybe about, you know, going there, maybe seeing a couple people, the money. But for me, it's still really exciting and I really enjoy it. And I get to meet these cool people. So I still have this like kind of very unique experience with Sturgis that maybe somebody who's like, well, I've been coming to Sturgis for 20 years, you know, wouldn't have. So I get kind of excited about Sturgis, to be honest.
Unlike the guy that you wrote Sturgis Virgin on his back with a Sharpie.
I actually talk to him all the time on Instagram. He writes me all the time. He's like, you do know that picture is me, right? And I'm like, of course I know that's you. Like, it's just your face. And I actually meet up with people. I was just in Nashville last week, and actually there's a photo of a guy. His name is Jim, where my whole backside is out, of course. And it's just such a sweet picture. And he was like, hey, I'm only a couple hours from you. And I was like, great, let's meet up. So I meet up with people in different places depending on where I am in the country.
Yeah, that's cool. You make friends no matter where you go, pretty much, it sounds like. Pretty
much, yeah. Well, and I know you kind of get a good feel on who to avoid, where you're like, I think that person's probably going to bury me under their basement stuff. You know?
Yeah.
Or this person seems cool. I'll meet him out in public and we can have a day. So like we went and listened to jazz music all day in Nashville. It was amazing.
So you mostly bartend for festivals? Do you bartend at a restaurant or?
Yeah, I bartend at a restaurant. I waitress at a restaurant. I'm actually like potentially going to be working at another place part-time. I'm going to Texas this weekend to meet up with a customer. Right after that, I'm going to Panama City Beach to bartend a festival. I'm just always traveling. In September, I worked the Arc House Music Festival in Chicago. And then the very next weekend, I believe it was, I worked the Country Thunder Festival in Florida. So it's really just everything everywhere. And then the last weekend of September, I was supposed to work the Hideout Rally in Northwest Arkansas, but I wasn't able to make it down. But I felt so bad that I actually just drove down there to help them clean up the festival for free.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Well, you know, bartenders and bikers, we kind of become family.
Yes.
And so,
you
know, one of the really, just a really great customer that was down there. He's a friend now. You know, because people, they are customers at first, of course, and then they become friends. And he was down there at the rally. And the guy I'm going to visit next weekend went to the rally, and I missed him from Texas. And, you know, the person who actually runs the rally, it's a whole charity rally to help benefit the police. So I was like, how am I not going to help out in some way for that?
Sure.
So I think it's only a 4-hour drive for me. So I just drove down, helped clean up.
Oh, is it like the end of the Woodstock movie from 1969 where Jimi Hendrix and you
it's
see
not that bad.
Yeah, I was about to ask, is it that bad or?
No. So the biker community is pretty respectful. Actually, I find that when I go to biker rallies, it's much cleaner than when I go to things like house music festivals or even the country music festival. We had barely any garbage to clean up, whereas when I went to those other festivals, it looked like people were just drinking things and throwing it, regardless of where the trash cans were.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not just trying to promote the biker community. Like, that is a fact. I may even have pictures to back it up.
Well, I've always, since I started this podcast, I've always promoted the biker community just a little bit because there have been many times during my years as a bartender where making friends with the Harley riders always, once you've made friends with them, you've made a friend for life because,
yeah.
Oh, I tell the story all the time where this one guy was trying to intimidate me, acting like he was going to hit me, and I was pretty convinced. All I had to do was turn around to my Harley riders and go, Pat, kill, and he would have done it. But
yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, I've always I not just because I also ride a Harley, but there's a brotherhood that goes along with them. And once you've
Sure.
made friends with them, you've got a friend for life, no matter what.
Mhm.
But
Well, and it's funny that you say that because that's when I first started working biker rallies, people were scared for me.
mm,
They were like, "Hey, you need to be careful." And I was like, if anybody messed with me, everybody around me would like destroy that person. There is no way. They won't allow it. Like you cannot disrespect us, like the bartenders. And the other thing too is that, for instance, so I work this rally called the Hideout, and it's both in Northwest Arkansas and in northern New Mexico, kind of near Angel Fire. So when I worked that, the entire place we were bartending was rented out by Marine MCs. So all of these different veterans, Marine veterans, came from all over the country to meet at this Hideout rally to support, the veterans and like the different charities that they were supporting in New Mexico. And these guys were the coolest.
mm.
And actually one of them I started chatting with knew my grandpa who has passed away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like it's in the middle of nowhere. My grandpa lived in the middle of nowhere. It's called Butte Meadows, California. Half an hour, I think, or so north of Chico on the side of a mountain with a population of maybe 50 to 70. And he knew my grandpa.
Wow.
So it's just such a crazy small world. But, people think of bikers and they think of Sons of Anarchy. And I'm like, okay, I'm sure there are badass biker gangs that are breaking laws and, doing all the bad things that are promoted on different various shows. But I'm not getting those guys.
Mm.
And frankly, can I tell you a quick story?
Of course.
All right. So I was walking to work at One Eye Jack's in Sturgis, and the Hells Angels house happens to be literally next door. And we don't really talk to them. We don't, and nobody's allowed to wear their colors into the bars at Sturgis. Everybody knows the rules, right? To play the game. Well, I was walking to work and they were selling a ton of merch, which was really confusing because I thought I'm like, the Hells Angels are selling merchandise? Like Victoria's Secret has pink across the butt and now they've got Hells Angels across the butt of underwear? I was a little confused by this. But I realized on the way to work that I had forgot to put on socks. And a long shift like that with net stockings and no socks is just going to be killer, right? Especially with all the funny dance moves I'm doing because I'm not a good dancer. And so I went up to this table and I'm like, I know this is a long shot, but is there any chance you're selling Hells Angels socks? Because I can't drive home. Like I just don't have the time to drive back and grab socks. And he looks at me, he's like, you know what? I just bought a whole new pack of socks. I'll just give you a pair. And this guy goes into the house. And these are nice socks, okay? These weren't some cheap, Hanes socks. These were really nice, performance socks. Grabs a chair, sits me down. He's like, do you need any help? He gives me his socks. I put them on, put my boots on. He's like, you have a wonderful day. And I was like, thank you so much. And you know what? One of the things that does happen is I will have offers for people to buy my socks from me. So I actually was like, I sprayed them down with a little bit of my perfume, rolled them up real nice. And I'm like, here, because the guy wasn't there when I got off my shift. I'm like, I wish I remembered his name, but I'm like, tell him he can sell these. He can sell these socks. Tell him it's not so wonderful. Trying to help him out. But yeah. So I have no problems with the biker community.
Yeah, that's a great story. I mean, all the stories I've heard from about the Hells Angels are old stories from the 70s and the Nightmare at Altamont, and so it's very rare that I hear a good story about the Hells Angels.
No.
So
they've always been so nice, and they're at least the ones I meet, we don't know unless they tell us, right? Because we cannot serve anybody who's wearing colors or affiliations. We have to tell you, gotta leave. That's just the rules. You don't break the rules or you lose your job. But if you find out through conversation over here or anything, I've never had anybody who I believe is in any kind of MC, be rude or disrespectful to me. in any sort of way. Like, people are fun. Now, I get some sexual comments, but that's just going to come with the job with what we're wearing, right? And then we can just shoot right back at them and make fun of them. I mean, I can beat them up. I can push you. I mean, what's a fair game?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I just, and if people are rude, I'm just rude right back to them.
Yeah. That's what all bartenders do. They've, I've seen some of my favorite coworkers I've ever had. They've warned customers, if you're gonna flip me shit, expect to get it back, because if you don't think you're gonna get it back, you better keep your mouth shut.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is that I will sometimes now, where I'm at, obviously have to remember I cannot be in Sturgis brain. I have to treat it very differently. But sometimes I'll get people who will give me a hard time, and I'm like, I will tell them, I bartend Sturgis. Do you know what Sturgis is? Because you're about to bring a little bit of that out of me. I've actually had some customers find some of my social media. And so people are coming in now. And one of my favorite customers, Jessica's like, I'm going to have a party for Halloween. Can you do body shots for me? I'm like, I don't know if your people can afford my body shots, but we'll see. We'll see. So, I know. Actually, one of those videos I think it's going viral on TikTok.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's I posted it a couple days ago, and I'm at about 29,000 views now.
I might have run across it, because I think I follow you on TikTok also. But
okay, well, that's good. Thanks for the views. But the guy was such a sweetheart. It was his first Sturgis, and he was going through a divorce. And I'm not going to say the things he was telling me about the woman he was divorcing, but I put on there, he had a diving hat. And I have an advanced open water. So I was like, oh, are you a diver? Right? Because you're always looking for things to talk about with people. And he's like, funny story. Actually, no, I'm not. And he tells me all about how he's divorcing his wife and, the horrible things she had said and done. He's like, this is her favorite hat. So I took it. And so I'm going to take pictures with all these beautiful girls in this diving hat. This fucking hat is mine now. It was great. It was so savage. So I was like, oh my God, I love you, dude. And so we talked forever, but I gave him his first body shot. And so we did kind of a great video. And a couple people were like, oh, he's horrible. I'm like, it's his first body shot. Don't you be mean. He's nice.
Yeah.
So I'll stand up for people. Because I'm like, you do not get to be rude. That was his first body shot. We all have to do something for the first time, and we can't all be experts at it.
Right.
He was adorable.
So when you started doing these festivals, your friend called you up and asked you if you wanted to go to Sturgis. Are you affiliated with a company, or how do you manage to get jobs at all these festivals?
So this is a common question. Okay, so I don't know how she got in. I think she applied years ago and had been working there. And then of course, what happens is networking, right? Somebody who was doing the hiring, actually, I call her the HMFIC, Taylor. She's amazing. She was like, hey, I need a couple of more bartenders. And Rose was like, I got the person for you. And so that's how I got in. But based on that, then you start meeting other bartenders. And so we have a special one-eyed Jack's group for only the people who are employed there. And maybe somebody will post and go, hey, we're going to need a bartender at this festival. Anybody available? Anybody willing to drive, or anybody close by? And then, that's how I ended up working the hideout events. Well, then based off the hideout events, there was a girl who did actually work for a staffing company who was like, hey, they're looking for people for the NFL draft. Anybody interested? That's how I got in at the NFL draft on accident. Now I work with that staffing company technically and could opt for jobs that they put out, but most of it's word of mouth and who you know, or the reputation that you've built. Because if you're known for, if you've gotten fired for drinking, because we're not supposed to drink other than, some shots here and there with the customers, but you can't get drunk.
Right.
If you are known for doing that, you're not going to get hired back. If you do anything inappropriate, you're not going to get hired back. And that traveling bartending community is small. It's big, but it's small. And so it's mostly just, hey, we need somebody at this bar and I know you. And I know that, people like you, or you have a good following and you're going to bring more customers to my bar. Would you want to work here?
Yeah.
And applying, of course.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that happens to a lot of bartenders. When one bartender loses a job, then somebody puts their ear to the ground, and then, friend through a friend, This place needs
Yeah.
needs a, because bartenders, we protect each other also. We're pretty much
Yeah.
all friends. I mean,
Yeah.
there were, in the town where I used to bartend at, there were 5 bars, and we had, well, this is predating text messaging, but we would all call each other if there was an evil or customer or overly served customer wandering around, and warn each other. So even though we kind of had this mentality that our businesses were kind of in competing with each other for business, the bartenders still helped each other out. And yeah, that's really cool that, your friend thought of you right away to come out and do Sturgis. And is it a lot of work to get to these other places?
Yes. And one of the common misconceptions I get a lot is that, oh, they fly you out and pay for your housing. I'm like,
No.
I'm paying to get there. I'm paying for my housing. If I'm doing extensions, of course, spray tans, nails, the gym membership I have to go to maintain my physique, although this year was a little rough. But in my videos, you can see I was like, oh, I'm going to need to tighten up my derriere a little bit. But no, these are all things we have to pay for. These outfits, these little gimmicks, when I buy a paddle, or, I will personally bring beads and little fun props and stuff. So if somebody's a Sturgis virgin, or if it's their birthday, or they're celebrating a divorce usually, then, I'll try to make that experience better for them. And obviously I'm like, okay, hopefully they have more fun and they tip me more because I'm there to make money. But I also want to create those memories. And so it's like a win-win for both of us. But I mean, I've had people like, what do you make? 20, 30,000? And I'm like, what world do you live on where I am making $20,000 to $30,000? Maybe that was a thing back in the day. I don't know. Maybe that's just what are those, oh, so sorry, I've forgotten the word. A story that's told so many times it gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Telephone game or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's ridiculous now. Nobody is walking out of there with 20 to 30,000 except for the people who are owning bars.
Right.
And it's more than that, obviously. Yeah. But yeah, so, and then sometimes people will assume they should tip less because of that. Because they're like, well, you're already making enough. And I'm like, no, it costs a lot. We have to fly to these events, or, I drove personally, but the housing alone in Sturgis, you can ask anybody who goes there. It's not cheap. Well, so when you have a lot of people go in on a house, but it's still not, it takes me sometimes a week just to break even with what I've spent to get there.
Yeah.
And it's only a 10 to 14 day event. Cause there's a pre-rally and, a little bit afterwards. So, and maybe it's more 4 or 5 days, but still I have to keep track. When am I breaking even and when am I making money?
Mm-hmm.
Bartender.
Sometimes when I'm working, I don't have a lot of time to eat or even sit down. But sometimes you just got to have something in your stomach. Otherwise, you're just going to have a rough afternoon. That's why I keep a Raw Rev nutrition bar in my backpack at all times. That way, if I just need something quick to put in my stomach, I just grab it in my bag. I eat it. It's good for you. It has high-quality plant-based proteins, no soy or whey proteins. They're nutrition and diet-conscious ingredients, healthy proteins, fats, and fiber, nothing artificial. And they've got a lot of these great flavors, like creamy peanut butter and sea salt, peanut butter dark chocolate and sea salt, double chocolate brownie batter, and birthday cake, and tons of other flavors. Go check them out, www.rawrev.com. Use Hey Bartender at checkout to get 5% off your entire order. Go to www.rawrev.com and don't forget to use promo code Hey Bartender.
Hey Bartender.
Like I said, I've never been to a biker rally, but I hear at big events like San Diego Comic-Con where they're going to be nerds for miles for at least a week. And oh yeah, I would love to do that too. But all the hotels probably within a 10-mile radius are completely booked, but they boosted their prices because they can.
Yeah,
And
that's economics.
and so yeah, that's basic economics there. But you know, I have to sit back and wonder, like, when the cast of The Flash comes out there, where do they stay? Because you know, I'm sure their affiliates and their stations pay for everything for them. But but when you're going to Sturgis, it has to be the same thing, because what was it? You know, you were there in 2020, you said, and that was it happened during quarantine in 2020, and a lot of people, what did they say? There were 250,000 people out there.
I think it was somewhere between 200,000 and 400,000.
Yeah, and so even that 200,000 and 400,000, that actually freaks me out how many people that is. But even that, I'm sure the hotels and houses and people's couches, nobody was hurting for you know, when it came to a place to stay. But there's also like the campgrounds.
Yeah.
A friend of mine who'd attended Sturgis a couple times, she said she just camped out in her car. One year she decided that she wasn't going to ride her motorcycle all the way out there, so she just drove out there and slept in her car the whole time. But
yeah, that wouldn't work for me, because I don't know that the smell would get me as many tips. You know, they do prefer that we smell good when we come to work.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Just a little bit. But no, yeah, so we have to find all of our own housing. And luckily, I've been able to be within a house that kind of has an agreement. A lot of people will go on vacation to just rent their houses out during that portion of Sturgis. And so, you know, they know when we have our employee meeting, when they have to be gone by. We know when we can actually enter the house. A lot of these houses will have like the key codes on the door, and they just rent it out, and then they go on vacation. And frankly, they can probably pay for their entire vacation and then some, with the amount that we have to pay for those houses to rent them out.
Yeah, I bet.
So I guess the people in Sturgis win too, if they're willing to rent out their house.
Yeah. That same friend of mine, she sent me a picture of the strip in Sturgis, and I saw just this line heading for the horizon of amazing motorcycles, choppers, Harleys, Indians, Hondas, but
they make fun of them. Don't worry.
I know they do. Yeah. I've heard all the stories where you look like that you didn't camp out the whole way on your ride. You didn't ride the whole way to South Dakota. You had your motorcycle trucked in. They'll spot you, and they'll flip you shit for it.
They will. There are a lot of Sturgis groups, like rally groups actually, and they'll have debates about this. Because here's the thing: is some people are like, you know what? I don't want to ride 7,000 miles. I've done that. Like, I've done my time on my bike, and I'm going to, you know, put it on my toy hauler, come in, and I'm going to enjoy the roads there. And then other people are like, oh, it's only real if you ride all the way there. So it's just kind of like Harley versus Indian, right? Like, you're going to be in one camp or the other. But for me, I'm just like, I just want you guys to be happy. I don't really care if you rode all the way here or not. Like, because there's one customer, well, he's a friend, of course, now. He's just such a wonderful soul. And I will only ride with him. I only trust him. And so I actually rode, I think we did about 130 miles, and we did Needles Highway and Iron Mountain, I believe. And I wanted to die by the end. It felt like my butt was going to fall off. And it's hilarious. Curtis was like, oh my gosh, I could tell when you were falling out, because I started moving and shifting a lot. And you have to be a good rider too, right? You can make somebody crash if you're doing the wrong thing on the back. I was like really trying to kind of shift around my buns a little. I started like falling asleep on his back, and I was like, man, I'm not even in charge, right? And I am exhausted just from riding. So I can't imagine, you know, if I can barely hang for 130 miles, and I'm not ashamed to admit that my butt was going to fall off. But I can't imagine doing several thousand miles to get there. I mean, I'd probably have to spend the first 3 days just recovering. Yeah. But I guess that's why some of your friends don't remember anything, because that's their way of recovering, are those Jack and Coke.
Yeah, the longest ride I've ever done by myself was I think, well, it was 120 miles one direction, and I only stopped just because I was thirsty on the way out, and got myself a quick drink and then kept riding, and then I decided, okay, time to turn around and go home, and then all of a sudden about I don't know, 25 miles, I was like, my butt really hurts. Stop, stand, walk around for a little while, get back on the bike, and it seemed like it was every 10 minutes after that. God, I'm really uncomfortable. Get off, let the blood circulate a little bit more, and then get back on.
Yeah.
But that was when I was.
Because once you hit that point, oof.
Yeah, but I was relatively new to it at that time, so I don't know. Maybe I've got built muscles in my butt or something by now, but
But calluses.
yeah, yeah. But
we'll just make up a name for it.
Yeah. So when you're bartending, when you're bartending at the thing I was going to finish talking about, she sent me a picture of the strip with all these motorcycles just straight down for the horizon. But the first thing I noticed was there's nobody on the street, and I asked her that, and I said, there's a lot of cool bikes in that picture, but where are all the people? And she goes, in the bar. And I was like, really? And she goes, yeah. And then she sends me another picture of her with two waitresses from One Eye Jack's. She goes, because they're in here. And I was like, gotcha.
Well, and that's what we're known for, is having, I mean, there are other bars there too, but one of the things that One Eye Jack's is known for is having, attractive bartenders, but also a plethora of different kinds, right? So it's not all just, skinny, busty blondes like me. We've got the curvy girls. We got the goth looking girls. We got the badass girls. We got the sexy, dirty girls. Like, we got the girl next door. I mean, that's what Taylor's so great at, is finding, these bartenders that are for everyone, right? Because not everybody likes the same look and the same personality. And so she brings in all these different people. One, obviously, there's some people who just have this amazing following and, bring a lot of customers to the bar, which increases sales because, we're all capitalists here. Yeah. But it's one of those things where, there's a little something for everyone. And that's why I enjoy it.
So, what are the drinks like that you serve there? Is it mostly, what's the majority of people ordering all the time? Is it just beers and shots, or do you have this wide selection of people with different tastes and different what do they order?
No worries. So we have an insane selection of alcohol, so we can make anything. However, the majority of people drink beer or something like, just Jack and Coke or a Captain and Coke. It is not a Morgan and Coke, suckers. Vodka cran, just like really basic drinks. It's nothing crazy. But that one we talked about, my favorite drink, the Electric Smurf, I was so tired. Whenever anybody comes in and and in the mornings, a lot of Bloody Marys. Holy hell. A lot of Bloody Marys and, or screwdrivers. Because I'll be like, hey, you look like you need a little vitamin C, sir. I could put a little orange juice in that vodka for you. But when I have people who are like, I don't know what to order, I'll be like, do you just want something refreshing? And they're like, sure. And I'm like, all right, great. I'm going to make you something. It'll be $12. And they're like, okay. I'll make it. And they're like, what's this called? I'm like, and I remember the first time I did it, I was so tired that I said, it's blue drink. And they're like, well, what's it called? I'm like, it's called blue drink. Drink it. You'll like it. It's blue. Drink it. And so after that, like, people would line up and be like, what's that over there? I'm like, blue drink. Do you want one? It's really good. And the people would be like, oh, it's so good. And they'd give the thumbs up. And so I'd have like all these people around my edge. There was 3 bartenders on my bar. It's a real big bar. But on the end that I was on, I'd have all these people just lined up with blue drinks. And it was hilarious because what you want, blue drink? They knew if they wanted the blue drink, they just had to come to me. But I was not. You just get so tired and there's so much to remember because, you don't want your drawer to be off. You're trying to like do all these different things. You're trying to make everybody happy, the last thing I want to think is, it's an electric, nope, it's blue drink it, shut up. You're going to like it. Give me all your money.
So, in this situation though, customer service, you said that you've developed regulars, lots of regulars.
Oh yeah.
And when you're dealing with, 250,000 people or more, and you're still able to get regular customers, that's amazing. What is your secret? What's the trick?
Well, I think for a lot of us, and I can't speak for all bartenders, but some people, just like the way we look, right? We've got the right look. We've got a certain sex appeal that they're attracted to. And so they will seek people out at the bars they go to. Mm. And that's where the social media following come in, because we can say, hey, I'm going to this bar, and people will come to that bar to see us perform or just to check us out, little something here and there. Not like that kind of something, but seeing a little peek of like a little like lower booty or some cleavage, right? But the other thing is just like we talk to them. So, when I'm talking to people, sometimes I'm too busy. I can't talk to you. What do you want to drink? Okay, next. I got to, and you can tell when that's happening. But if I have an opportunity to speak to you, of course I'm going to ask, where are you from? What do you do? What are your hobbies? Because what I like to do, and I think this is what's gotten me a lot of regulars, is in a little trade secret for me, is I can't remember names for the life of me. Mm. Unless somebody's made an impression on me, like Curtis or Craig or Jim or, like Ed or, there's so many people. Mm. But the thing is that when you find a group of people from Nebraska, and then on the other side of my bar is another group of people from Nebraska, I'm like, hey, y'all are from Nebraska. Be friends. And I will like make people move, because then these two groups of people start talking, where are you from? Where are you from? Shots start getting bought and exchanged. Everybody's like, share numbers, because then they have new friends they can ride with in their home state. So I love to connect people that are actually from similar areas and similar states, so that, they have maybe new friends after they leave, because most people come with a group of friends. So they're not going to necessarily talk to new people. Mm. So I'm like, hey, let me help you out. So I'm kind of like speed friend dating for people too.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
And quick thinking also, is that something that you, customer service skills you just picked up, or is that something you learned? Or, I mean,
it's just a weird thing I do. It's just something that, like, I will ask people where they're from, and I can tell them every detail about them except for their name.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I can tell them their order, what they've been drinking. Like, I can repeat the stories they've told me. I can even remember where they sat at my bar. But unless I have, like, said the name enough or looked at their pictures enough to, like, associate a name with the face, like, I will tell them where they're from. Like, all the people I just named, I can tell you what states they live in. So, like, but that's just something that I thought was always interesting about Sturgis, is that if it wasn't COVID right now, I wouldn't just be naming states. I'd be naming countries. People come from all over the world. And that's the next thing that I look forward to, is that, once COVID is simmered down and the borders are all open, people can come in, more freely. But, being able to ask people where they're from, it's like, wow, people really come from everywhere to go to this event. And so for me, it's just kind of interesting as well. Plus, since I'm from the Kansas City area, I'm always looking for other people from that area, because I'm like, oh, pictures, let's know each other. Like, like I will, go out of my way to be extra nice. I can't pour heavy. That's against the rules. So it's not something like, oh, you're from Kansas City, I'll pour. Nope, not breaking the rules. But I can, do other things. Like, maybe it's not their birthday, but I give them some beef, Or I've even had, this is a crazy story. Somebody had found me online because I had posted in a Kansas City motorcycle group. He came to One Eye Jack's, found me at my bar, because was writing on Instagram, like, where are you? Because it's a huge bar. It's a little hard to find us sometimes. And he actually gave me money to put to the side to buy his friends beers that were coming in 3 days. So I went and talked to the other bartenders. I'm like, hey, this money, right? Because we had decided to split tips, and I didn't want them to think I was being, dishonest or lacking integrity. I'm like, this money is to buy somebody drinks in a few days. I'm going to put it to the side. I explained the situation, and they trusted me inherently too. They know, my level of integrity. So, Rick, you're good. And so those people came, and I'm like, are you Rambo? And he's like, I am. Are you Roxanne? And I'm like, absolutely. What are we drinking? This is how much money you've got. So it's things like that, friends will send their friends to me because they're like, you're just so genuine and nice. Now, some people go to the bars because they want the really mean one.
Right.
And frankly, when I'm spanking people, I am kind of mean. It's kind of wonderful. But I am a genuinely nice person who's actually interested in their stories. And I think maybe that is something that differentiates me as well, is that I genuinely care about their experience.
Yeah. And so what's your favorite way to ensure that you're memorable? So, well, I mean, whatever you're comfortable in telling me that.
Yeah, no, I don't ever do anything there's a lot of assumptions about the girls because of the way we dress, but no. So, cause we get hit on a lot, but people are always like, what are you doing after work? I'm like, frankly, I'm doing tips for pics because hopefully people know that when you're taking pictures with the girls walking around in their office, you should tip them. Mm-hmm. Okay. If you're not tipping, you're an asshole. Stop it. But I do tips for pics. And then I go home and go to sleep. Like I'm tired. We're performing the entire day, right? Jumping around, running around, spanking, doing body shots, like joking around with people. Like this takes a lot of energy. Mm. And when you get home, you're all jazzed up. You can't go to bed right away. I go to sleep. Some people go out and party and go listen to music, or maybe some people date the customers. I don't know. Mm. That's not me. Yeah. But what I do, I think how I'm memorable is that I am a secret nerd. Like if you haven't picked up on it, I'm also an economist. So I studied economics. And I just embrace my nerdiness. Like I'm a horrible dancer. So I will specifically let people know, like, hey, these girls because I bartended on a different bar upstairs last year, and these girls can twerk and shake their hips in ways I can't. So I get behind them and do the robot. Like, no joke. Like, so these girls are doing all these sexy dances, and I'm like behind them miming, right? But that's like legitimately me, right? I'm not, it's a performance, but it's really me. So I'm letting them know, like, I'm a horrible dancer. So when I joke around, I'm like, yeah, because I'll tell stories about, things I've done, and they'll be like, are you a good dancer? Or they'll joke around. I'm like, yeah. And I'll start doing like the Cabbage Patch, right? Because I'm horrible. So I'll make fun of myself. And then one of the fun things I did this year actually was I found these squeezable pigs at a store in different colors. And I was like, oh, squeezable hogs that go like, right? It's so funny. And I'm like, okay, this is totally my personality, right? So I would go up to people and I'd be like, so, especially if they look serious, because I'm like, you're being too serious, dude. You're just have some fun, right? Loosen up. So I would go up to people and I'd be like, what kind of hog you riding on? And they would start talking about their bikes. And I'd be like, you want to know about my hog? And I would throw this hog in their face and start squeezing it. So it would be like, right in their faces. Like, just the weirdest stuff, So I always tell people, I'm like, I may dress sexy, but I'm not the sexy bartender. Okay. I'm the weird one. So that's why I'm memorable, because I do funny things, but it's just who I am.
Yeah. I think if I walked into your bar and, I saw a girl twerking or, using the corner of the bar like a stripper pole, and then all of a sudden you come out doing the robot, would be more memorable for some reason than the girl twerking or whatever.
Oh my God. I do a mean mosquito. Like I legitimately will throw my arms around in the air like I'm trying to kill a mosquito.
Really?
I do like the directional, like, look this way, look that way, look this. I mean, I'm horrible at dancing. So I'm just like, what other horrible dances can I bring to the game? Because I will never be that girl. If you put me on a stripper pole, I would get booed off the stage. Like it would be humiliating. I am not that girl. And there are some talented women up there who are genuinely athletic. Like this girl, Faye, the things she can do, it's amazing. And she's so sweet to boot. But the thing is that that's just not in me. But I can help you with the taxes.
Or, more likely I don't know if you watch Doctor Who, but Matt Smith doing the wedding dance, just walking around with his hands waving in the air or something.
I haven't seen it, but that sounds about like my dance. So. So I just embrace it. So I
Yeah.
think that's what
As long as
people
you're
love. That
yeah, you're genuine to yourself, and I'm sure people would go nuts for that. I mean,
yeah. Well, plus my spankings. People come to my bar to see me spank people.
they throw their friends out at you, and
Oh yeah. Well, do you want me to tell you how I do this? How I cast my net?
please, yeah.
Okay. So usually when I see, because I'm not going to go up to a single individual and be like, "Hey, want to spank?" That they're going to ask me if they want me to spank them, right? But and this is with the paddle. This is not like I'm not like putting them over my knee or something. It's a whole performance. But whenever I see a big group of guys, I always know there's going to be one in the group who has pissed everybody off at this point. So I will go up and go, "Hey, for $20 or $30 or whatever, I will, well, frankly, I say, I will beat the shit out of one of your friends with a paddle while you record it on video. Who are we doing today?" Because that's something they're never going to live down. And they'll be like, "Oh, no, no, no." Or they'll be like, "Oh, yeah, that guy over there." And they'll point. And so the guy will see it because I'm like, "Shh, don't say anything," right? And the guy will be like, "What are you guys talking about?" And I'll be like, "I was asking if you guys wanted shots. He turned me down." And I'll just make something up. And I'll tell the guy, like, when I come back, like, get your camera ready. And so then I'll blow my whistle, ring my cowbell, make a big spectacle of it. He'll come over and grab the guy, and they're always like, "Ah, shit." Like, what are you going to do to me? But I won't leave the wallet in to even help. Like, I take their wallet out, phone, keys, anything that's in their back pockets that could potentially hurt them as well. I make sure I feel around where's all the meat, because you can hurt somebody if you don't do it correctly.
Right.
You go too high or too low. So I got to make sure, and I tell them, don't move, because I am not trying to injure anybody, and I haven't yet. And don't throw your hands back there, or else your hand will get hit, because I can't stop mid-swing. And I just paddle them, and the boys always have fun with it because they know it's all in good fun, but I just enjoy it because they're like, "Oh, it can't hurt that bad." And I'll go, "Oh, it can't hurt. Look at these little girl arms. Little old me's not going to hurt big old you." Oh, I will make so much. Oh, they crumple after 3. It's amazing. I love it.
I've learned more about spanking during this show than I thought I'd ever learn. So, good to know.
Well, just if you ever go to Sturgis, don't be the friend that pisses everybody off and come to my bar.
Right. I think just because of me being uncomfortable with crowds, you'd end up walking up to me with your pig.
You'd be one of my one-on-one people, and that would be okay too, because I do a lot of that. There are a lot of people who go, and they're very like, a lot of people just go because they want to experience it themselves, and they want to people watch, and they just want to be immersed in the experience, right? They don't necessarily want to do a body shot or be spanked, or I even have people crawl around on my bar floor while I, kind of hit them with a little paddle. So, I do all sorts of fun stuff, and their friends are paying me to do this, and they're recording it, and, everybody's having a good time, because you can't make somebody do something that they haven't given you permission to do, right? I'm not forcing these people to do this. So, because people will be like, nope, absolutely not. And I will, all right, I will not do it if they say no, because, that I'm sure that's a violation of a law somewhere, right? But I'm telling you, even the people who just come in by themselves, like, they have a great time just being able to watch and talk to us. And I love having regulars that will come and see me at different venues across the country. I mean, that's amazing to be able to create that kind of relationship with people.
Yeah, that's got to be incredible. Just to, make friends with out of a crowd is incredible in itself. And I admire you for that, and be able to keep track of at least a face, because I'm bad with names too. So as you're doing this, though, do you still get the typical bartender questions like, why don't you get a real job, or any of those questions?
So I did have somebody who, it was a woman who was kind of, okay, she wasn't kind of being a bitch. She was just being a bitch. And she was like, and she didn't look like she rode in on a Harley. Okay. We get some people who just look like they came there to be Karens and Covister. And she's like, is this what you aspired to be, was a bartender? And I was like, no, I wanted to be a stripper and I failed. You know, like I will just give them shitty answers. But sometimes when people start to get disrespectful with me, I will tell them, I'm like, right. So I have a degree in economics with a minor in ag econ. I've worked with diplomats. I've worked with the military. I worked overseas for 2 years. I've managed billions and trillions of dollars within the banking industry. But hey, it's cool. Make your assumptions.
Yeah.
And so, you know, a lot of these women have businesses on the side. They're professionals, you know, like we create a persona for this bartending, right? Nobody's going there because they're like, I'd love to talk about supply and demand, you know, like let's talk about the velocity curve. You know, nobody cares about that. Like they come there for a real experience. And so, you know, if they want to know something about me, they will. Or if they're being assholes, I'll just tell them. But you know, these women are intelligent and, you know, well-traveled and have done so many cool things in so many different countries. They do a ton of charity work. Like if you actually talk to a lot of these women, they're just really amazing, empowered, strong, you know, impressive women. And so I just, you know, whenever anybody gets shitty about it, I'm like, I will let you know who I am, sir.
Yeah.
Like if I need to. I was trying to create this like, you know, cutesy fun person for you. And I am that cutesy fun person. But if you want to sit down and have a serious talk about like international political economic like jargon, or if we want to talk about hyperinflation in Latin America, we can have that discussion. But I don't think you came to Sturgis for that. So I've got my brains too. I've got brains and boobs. It's an amazing combo.
Yes. I mean, I feel sorry for a lot of waitresses or, well, anybody that works in the service industry because people always asking questions like, is this what you wanted to do for your life? Why don't you get a real job? You know, some of them just do it because they like doing it. And sure, those people that ask those stupid questions, they try your patience and whether, you know, do I really want to deal with this person anymore? They have to train themselves to look at the big picture and see how much fun they're having other than that minute they spent with them. And it sounds like you have absolutely no problem with that. You know?
No. And the other thing that people don't, and I actually think there's a huge awakening happening right now, but, you know, I worked for a company that, you know, I was working a minimum of 50 hours a week because I was in kind of middle management, I guess you could say. You know, managing a considerable amount of business, and I'm not going to say who, but I worked for one of the largest custodial banks in the world. And, you know, I loved my coworkers, you know, I had fun, but it's not the same, right? And eventually I left and, you know, moved into another industry right when COVID hit and ended up getting laid off because I moved into an industry that was reliant upon a low unemployment rate. And so they laid off like pretty much everybody they had hired in 2020. And I had just gotten hired in February. So I was furloughed in April, laid off in June. And then Sturgis happened in August. And I realized, you know, there is so much value in finding joy at work and having fun at work. And it makes, obviously I need to make enough to pay my bills, right? And I do. But the thing is that, you know, I could go back to corporate America in 2 minutes. Frankly, like I could put on LinkedIn, hey, looking to get back into this, done, because the entire industry is looking for people. But I also want to make sure that I'm happy and I'm having so much fun doing this, traveling around the country, meeting all these really cool, interesting people, meeting all these like empowered women, like it's amazing. And so when people are like, oh, it's just bartending, you know, there are a lot of bartending groups that will laugh because they're like, I am making, you know, 2, 3, 4 times as much as these people in corporate America that are slaving away, working like 50 plus hours a week at a job that they're miserable at.
Right.
And so you have to ask yourself, like, what is success? Is success having the title, or is it being happy and going home every day and being like feeling fulfilled by the like encounters that you're having? Or is it dreading waking up every day to go into this place that pays your bills?
Right.
And so, you know, I had to really think about that too because I was like, I'm educated. I have 20 years of management experience. Like, I have done things that most people have never done in their life. I've traveled to over 20 countries. Like, I have done so many cool things, and I'm technically overqualified to waitress and bartend, but I love it.
Yeah.
So it's, what does it matter if I don't have like AVP or VP or officer next to my name, if I love what I do.
Right.
And when I stop loving this, then maybe I'll go back to that. Maybe I'll do both. Maybe I'll do some corporate America and some travel bartending on the side of my vacation time. But I just want to be happy. And I think a lot of people are realizing that their mental health and their happiness is worth so much more than a title now.
Right. I agree totally. That is an amazing thing that you just said, and I feel like that's a perfect spot to end the podcast because that was very poignant. Thank you so much for saying that. And thank you so much for taking time to be on Hey Bartender podcast. It was great having you on, getting some of the inside information on what goes on. I'm sure that was just a small sample of what goes on at Sturgis.
I have a lot of stories.
So if people want to follow you or find out more about you, where would they go?
So almost everything, if you were to look up Roxanne the Bartender, Roxzanne, the Bartender, like all one word, you would find my Instagram, my, TikTok, my Facebook, everything social media is connected to Roxanne the Bartender. And I just thought it would be so much easier than trying to look up anything else. And, that's my name and that's what I do.
Okay. Thank you so much once again for being on Hey Bartender podcast. It was great to have you on. And guess what, people? It is last call for alcohol. Come on up to the bar because I'm not leaving my spot. This is a good spot for me. I'm quite comfortable here, and you're already standing, so why not come up to the bar? Special thanks to Roxanne the Bartender for coming onto the show. The stories were so cool. And, that last bit about just doing work that makes you happy, that really... I don't know if it had an effect on you guys, but it sure had an effect on me. That was incredible what she said. Instead of, trying to gauge your success by how much money you have over how happy you are. It's amazing. Remember, if you want to follow her on any of the social medias, go to look for at Roxanne the Bartender. That's ROXZANNE the Bartender, all one word. And see some of the visuals of what she was talking about. Happens when she travels around and does biker rallies and festivals and things like that. It's a lot of fun. Trust me. Remember, if you want to pick up anything from Hey Bartender Podcast, head on over to www.heybartenderpodcast.com. You can listen to previous episodes. You can check out some of the Hey Bartender Podcast swag. And remember, if you want to get a hold of me, my email, dude@heybartenderpodcast.com. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. All of them are at Hey Bartender Podcast. And have you guys been watching the Halloween haunted restaurants and bars that I've been putting up? Check those out. I'm having a lot of fun doing that. And if you have a haunted story that you want to share for the Halloween episode coming up, if I have enough stories, I'll do one. But if you have a story that you'd like to share, email me or drop me a message on social media, and we'll see about getting you on the air, or we can do a TikTok video about it. Remember to check out the links page on my Instagram and my TikTok. They will lead you to all of everything Hey Bartender, my Hey Bartender podcast, my website, and all the links to all the affiliates that I am currently running, Mint Mobile and Raw Rev Nutrition Bars. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to Hey Bartender Podcast. Remember to comment, like, subscribe, and leave me a star rating on any of the social media or any of the podcast places, because I need ratings. I want ratings. Ratings make me feel good. but not as good as when I wish you all lots of love, lots of sex, lots of happiness, and remember, don't take any shit from anyone. Good night.
What do you mean it's last call? I just got here!